In this lesson, we're going to be learning about sketch layout. I typically like to sketch on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and the paper doesn't want to be too heavy so that you can actually see through it when you're sketching on top of another sketch. It also wants to be pretty fine and not heavily textured either, so that markers don't get super absorbed. I also sketch it typically in a horizontal format, and the reason for that is that if you do share this electronically, screens tend to be horizontal. However, if I'm sketching something tall like a camera tripod or a broom, you might want to sketch vertically, and there is no right or wrong, so do whatever feels natural to you. When I begin any sketch, I like to think about the actual product. And so I know with my product and the idea that I'm doing right now, it's a tool that does two things. So I know in the main sketch, I'm gonna probably have two large views of the product. So I'm gonna quickly box that in right now. And it shouldn't take very long because this, again, is not going to be the final sketch. I'm going to be tracing over this. If I refer back to my list, I know that I want to be able to talk about in my story that it must cut and shovel. So I feel like in the smaller views on the side, on the left-hand side, it might be good to be showing someone cutting like a weed and then shoveling some dirt. So I'm going to, again, box that in. And then I think that a really important feature of this tool is the handle, and then maybe that safety lock that's incorporated. So on the right-hand side, I have some room. So I'm gonna go ahead and box in an area for me to sketch on that feature. And I think like overall, you know, at this point, I've addressed these top three, and then the durable and safety, or at least the safety has come in place. So I want to say, like, whenever I'm sketching, like, I just have to make sure that it looks like a garden tool and it looks durable. So that's just going to come across in the overall design. And so now that I did that, pretty much my page just looks like this. It's really messy. It doesn't need to be neat. It just gives me context of where I'm sketching. An underlay kind of just sets the groundwork for your final sketch. What I created in the last section right here, we're going to actually use as like the first underlay. You don't necessarily need to do this. Sometimes you can actually just sketch on top, but for our purposes, I'm going to literally just take this and put it underneath another piece of paper. And now this underlay here is going to be the guide for my new sketch. So in this section here, this isn't going to be a final sketch. This is going to be working out a little bit of the details now and filling in the boxes with a sketch. And it's going to, again, be a guide for the final sketch. So I'm going to start working on the main body. And when I'm sketching in this section, I wanted to show the two views. I wanted to show a view of the product open in a scissor action and then closed. And the reason why I want to show it kind of just living by itself without a hand on it is that you see the full product, because it is a hand tool. Seeing the actual handle is important. So I think glorifying like this main body shot is super important. So I'm going to start doing that now. Go ahead and do the same for you. In regards to perspective, you just really want to make sure that there's like one clear vanishing point in your sketch. The reason for that is so that all your lines are kind of going in the same angle. If you don't do that, you kind of get this like really crazy looking product and it doesn't make any sense. So just make sure that, like, you know, if you're seeing something in perspective, you try to funnel it, all the angles going towards that. When choosing the overall shape of your product, it sometimes helps to have an understanding of what the products look like in the category. You never want to copy another design on the market. However, it does help with proportions. So, and also some like maybe details that you might want to include. So like with a shovel, they all have handles, and then they generally are made of stainless steel. So these are little details that I'm including in my sketch, or I will include in my sketch. So just keep it in mind. So if you are sketching, you know, a pair of shoes, make sure that maybe they have shoelaces, maybe they have Velcro straps. Like, just put those details in and mark it on this page. And that's the whole purpose, is like you're starting to like figure out overall. So what I'm going to be doing here is like on the actual product, I think there's going to be like a little button. So I'm just going to put a little box on the handle where the button might be. And it's something really, really subtle. Now that I've established what the large product sketch is on this page, I'm going to start moving over to like the smaller images now. And on this one, I want to move over to the right-hand side. And what I wanted to showcase from what I mentioned earlier is the locking mechanism on the handle. Here, it's just a little slider button, I imagine, in my head. So what I'm going to do is take the same perspective that I have of my shovel here, and I'm going to actually just zoom in on that little area of the product. And so that when you look at this box, all you're going to see is a little section of the handle with the highlighted button, and that's it. So I'm going to box that in, and it's going to be really, really loose, really messy. It doesn't have to be clean because, again, this is not the final sketch. So as you can see, I've very quickly just boxed in a zoomed in view of the handle. It's really straightforward. There's not much detail there, but it gives me a general sense of like the perspective and angle and like the little detail that I wanted to call out. So I'm going to now move over to the left side of the page. On the top part here, I'm going to do a sketch of the hand tool being used as a shovel. So what I think would be the most important part here is maybe having it being used. So I want to incorporate a hand and then maybe it going into the dirt, so that maybe in just a matter of seconds, someone understands very quickly that this is a hand tool and it can shovel something. As I'm sketching this, I actually realized that there's not enough room to sketch the shovel on the top. So just so you know, that like this is all just, you know, laying the groundwork. Things can change and evolve. So that's really the opportunity here, is that sketching isn't really locked down. Like I don't really know what I'm going to be putting down on the paper. I'm really just doing it and creating as I'm going. So you can quickly on a fly make those changes, because there's no harm done. This isn't the final. So I'm just going to switch that real quickly. The scissors is going to actually go on the top left, because there's a lot more room for that. So I'm going to sketch that in really quickly right now. And that too is going to have a hand with the product and showing the weed being cut. And that just gives context of what this product is. And then the very last sketch is it just being shoveled. Again, with a hand on the hand tool. And then I'm gonna quickly just mock up like maybe the hole it's digging and some grass around it. And I'm quickly going back to the top part and adding a little weed. When choosing a pen, I typically like to think about the product that I'm actually sketching. If I was doing something that was softer, more like toy-like, I might sketch with like a felt pen or even colored pencil, just so it kind of keep things really loose and soft and flowing. Things more technical or more detail-oriented, you might want to use a ballpoint pen to start. And the reason for that is you can actually layer pretty well with this. It's pretty forgiving too. Like you can get a really, really, really soft line, and then as you feel more confident in the lines that you're creating, you can go in and darken it. So just keep that in mind. There is no right or wrong with the pens that you use, but these are just like quick little tips that I find very helpful. All right, so I'm feeling pretty good about this sketch. I think we're ready to move on to the next lesson, which is doing a final sketch rendering.